welcome back to Silverrun Forest Farm. Steelhorse here. We're back with Jake, and guess what? It's still raining. So you might recall from the end of the last episode, we had to interrupt our corn harvest because the rain set in, and set in it did. It rained well into the evening. So the decision to stop really was a no-brainer. The rain did stop around the middle of the night, and Jake got up to get organised this morning. Only we're just about to start the corn harvest again, and we've gotten another shower. So if we have a look at the weather, hopefully this one won't last too long. So you know, we've got rain now. We're coming up towards 8 o'clock, and then it should just stay overcast until the afternoon, when we can, well, when we would hope we've well and truly finished getting what's corn is left on the field off. If we have a look at our sugar beets, you'll see that it's not quite ready yet. So it's in the final growth stage, but that's really interesting. Why is it not showing over there? If we sugar beet, there it is. Why are we not getting a growth stage for sugar beet? Maybe because it's not a defined field. Even though it's raining, we might just wander over and just check nothing untoward has happened to our sugar beet. It was certainly good the last time he looked at it. You recall we cleared a space at this end to enable the equipment to turn around, and there it's looking fine. So it is ready to harvest though, this one. So we're up to remove foliage, so that's good. So if we get organised, we could start getting this one off. We probably should clear a little bit of this undergrowth at this end. Might make things a bit easier, but we'll think about that. The other job that we can do while it's raining is a little bit of weeding. So the barley field has small weeds currently, and we have a hoe. So perhaps what we should do is grab the Kubota and duck down and see how we go. It'll be a little bit of an experiment, because I'm not sure if we can, we know where the crops come up, we can see the weeds, but we're not sure if it'll take the weeds out of the area where the crop hasn't actually struck. So let's see what happens. But that's a good activity to at least get underway, even if it means limiting ourselves to the part of the field where the crops come up, and then hopefully in an hour or so we'll be good to go. We made good progress on the corn last time, so that was in good shape, and a bit later on, if we get our chores done, we can duck down the shop and borrow some equipment for the sugar beet harvest. As much as his plan was to get a bigger piece of equipment, Paige has been in his ear about the cost associated with heavy equipment and the fact that he's experimenting, and basically, really, can they afford the cost of the bigger machinery at this point, which is all fair and reasonable questions. Let's just have a look at our map here. We can't see the weeds. If we walk out onto the field, it tells us that the weeds are growing. If we have a look at our map, it tells us we've only got weeds we can see in the area where the crops come up. So what we might do, I'm just curious, let's put the weeder down. I'm not sure it will make any difference, but if we just do group up here, no, that appears to deal with the weeds. So what we're going to do is run a couple of headlands. And then put you on, when the rain stops, we can put someone in on courseplay to take care of the rest of the field. I think will work quite nicely. Let's just double check we're still having the effect we think. Yeah, crop type barley, weeds are growing. Crop type barley, no weeds. Excellent. The only difficulty in doing it this way is we just can't quite see where we've been. And it is quite dark and gloomy here with the rain, but as you can see, the sky is clearing, so hopefully it shouldn't be too long before we get the ability to get back on with our corn harvest. We'll be able to see how far we've progressed, or in terms of the yield we're getting off that field. So quite a lot of corn already in the silo. Jake hasn't been keeping score, so I've got no idea what our total's currently up to. We did do a couple of trailer loads in the last episode, so it should be reasonably healthy. And just because it's a little hard to tell where the line is, notwithstanding how dark it is and the rain, we've put a worker in and activated course play, because that'll enable them to run the course we want over the field. So we've just done 3 headlands and then the regular up and down patterns. So we'll leave that that guy to deal with that. And what we might do is take the opportunity to run into town, and we can organise the equipment we need for the sugar beet harvest, but we can also drop off a trailer load of milk. When I say trailer load, I do mean a couple of 1,000 litres rather than a trailer load. Not quite in trailer load territory at this stage, but it's a good opportunity to get that job done and just top up the cash a little bit, which we'll need for the lease of the equipment that we're going to borrow. So 3,780 litres, and I'm assuming that the best price, because I've emptied it again without looking, is the Sunnyside Cafe. Although it's not a lot of difference for the Waffle Huts. One morning we'll go to the Waffle Hut and try that out. But today let's duck up to the Sunnyside Cafe. That rain is showing no signs of letting up yet, but hopefully it will. We've still got things to keep us occupied, but it is one of those things. Like to get that corn off the field as soon as we can. Just a bit of a bump up the curb here. And we'll help the folks out with their breakfast. That's not too bad at all. 5,697 for the milk and another 10% or just over for the environmental score. So that works out quite nicely. Let's just duck down the store and organise the couple of bits of equipment we're going to need. These sugar beets. Always pays to have a look and see what's in the used vehicle sale. An interesting 7R, which would be useful but not required at the moment. We've already got a Tedder and we don't need the subsoiler right at the moment, so nothing that the Trident would potentially be useful, but it needs something to put it on, so we'll pass on all of that for the present. Let's jump over to our sugar beet technology. Now, this is where Jake kind of wanted to be, but the reality is they're just too expensive for us to afford. We don't have enough money to be leasing anything in the self-propelled category, and whilst it's only a container full of harvest away, it is a container full of timber away. It is probably unnecessary expense at this point for the size of our beet field or fields. So we'll make do, and this was certainly what we had in mind when Jake put the first lot in. So we'll lease one of these, which is $1,250. So that'll take care of the topping. And we'll get the trailed 185 horsepower. We've got a couple of options. Should have no trouble pulling that, and that's $5,000. So that's a lot more realistic, all things being equal. And in fact, while it's still raining and the equipment's sitting out here, we can duck into our lot over the back here, because probably the best tractor to use for this activity will be this one. So let's take you off. We can leave the timber work here. Because we'll be back to that for sure in the next month or two to try and carve out. We might not get it all done, but at least some semblance of a field in there for the next planting window. And let's see here. Might be easier to pick the topper up first. And then hook on. And if we get someone from the store, they can follow us back to the farm. Okay, it's currently thinking with this rain, might just be a little bit slippery up on the hillside to be messing with those, the experimental fields he's got up there, and perhaps just concentrating on the field down by the water might be the way to start out with the sugar beet. So we'll just see how we go, see how the day dries up. Already the rain's hanging on a bit longer than we expected, but nothing we can do about that. Pop in here and thank our worker for bringing that harvester across. Well, we run the milk tank back up to the cow barn. The cows have got about half a trough full of food, so that should keep them going until we get the harvests sorted out. As it turned out, the initial lease costs on that sugar beet equipment is about what we paid, what we got from the milk. So that's, whoops, let's try unhooking the correct piece of kit and head back down to our trailer. Now it's looking like our Komodo's making pretty good progress on the weeding. Got about a quarter of the field done so far. Fishermen out on the water. Bet he knows what the weather's going to do. And speaking of weather, it looks like the rain is cleared, at least for now. So we can't pull this one off at the minute because it's not ready. So we may be stuck if we want to start on the beet up on the hillside. But I think with the rain challenges that we've had, the crop dries out pretty quickly. So I think we'll take advantage of the dry weather and continue with our corn harvest. So the other thing Jake's been pondering while he's been harvesting the corn the last day or so is what to do with the sugar beet. He doesn't really have a storage facility. He could always drop it on the floor of the new barn, but he's a little bit reluctant to do that. He doesn't want to put in a shed just for the purpose. He hasn't decided if he's going to put sugar beet in again next year. It's kind of an experiment, and putting in a purpose-built shed for it is potentially jumping the gun a little. If we have a look at the market at the moment, actually the price mightn't be too bad. So, you know, the Silverrun market's offering 237. The top price is 266. You know, we're not going to be world record volumes, so, and we haven't got the crop off yet, so there's every chance that the crop we could improve in price as we move into November and close that gap a little more. It'll all just sort of depend about the economics. Not really sure what sort of yield these little pieces of land that he's put the sugar beet in will generate. So, I mean, doesn't want to be losing money, let's be clear. It wasn't a charitable donation. So that's just been on his mind a little bit, I guess, and he hasn't quite decided what he wants to do. So we'll just concentrate on getting the corn in for the minute, and maybe make the first decision. If we, at least we've got the silo complex to put the corn in, so we can get all of that out, and that gives us at least a trailer full of capacity. I mean, I guess the other option, he's long been looking at for a bulk trailer to go on the semi, and on the prime mover that or the prime movers that he's got, and so he's more inclined, if he wants to hang on to the sugar beet in the short term, to buy another trailer than he is to put a field in. So maybe that might be the go. Unfortunately, nothing's appropriate's come up in the second-hand market of late, so who knows. These are the things that prey on your mind as you drive backwards and forwards and gather this crop. And we should have emptied at the other end, but we were chatting and we forgot. It's a bit misty out there on the sound today. Let's try and get the spout in the spot, shall we? Don't mind a bit of a water ski, and that looks pretty glassy out there, I must say. Although it's quite a few years since I've been up behind a boat. Was never what I would have called skilled. Just made up for it with enthusiasm and determination. How did I not see all of that? Goodness, I really wasn't paying attention, was I? Never mind. We should get up and back and we'll drop it in the next run past. Looking at it, maybe one and a bit more tanks might in the harvester. With any luck. Well, Jake's feeling pretty good at this point. You can see the end is near for the harvest, and Paige's grandfather's Gleaner has performed flawlessly throughout. Done a terrific job for them. Saved them a ton of money, so that's really helped set them up for next year. And if they can continue to expand the farmland, they'll be in really good shape in another season or so. It's looking like we won't quite get all this load in the harvester as Jake predicted. I'll have to go and empty the truck when we get back down the end. Just to make room for the last little bit, I think. You never know. We're doing pretty well on this. We might have to run around and get those stragglers that are adorning the field. Managed to split the difference there. Much to Jake's surprise, he did manage to fit the last of the stragglers in, so, and even better, he's gotten the corn off just in time for lunch. So all up, an excellent morning's result. There's one stalk that's, or two stalks over there that are bugging him, so we can go and drop this direct in the silo and then empty the truck and think about the afternoon plan. There we go. While that's emptying, let's go to grab the truck. 20,000 litres in here. Looks like our weeding is coming up on finished, so that should be done by in the next hour or so. without too much trouble. Make sure we don't bend the auger there. Let's have a look and see what the grand total was. And so our corn, 95,000 litres. That's terrific. Now the price is not much chop at the moment, but another $500 improvement there and there'll be a nice little return. So corn's worked out very well for us. Of course, we've got more barley than we could ever use for seed also. So so far harvest season is going really well. But we might get our heavy equipment back up to the yard and grab some lunch and then see what happens or how we go about the sugar beet. And while Jake was having lunch, he's been having a bit of a think about how to approach the sugar beet. Well, there is rain due again this afternoon, and so he doesn't, whilst he could harvest it in the rain, because of the experiments he's running and the hillside and the terrain, he's not convinced that's an entirely sensible idea. Everything's probably dried out a bit, so because it's been a little while since the rain stopped. So what he's thinking is that he'll at least try and get a hopper forward. Not sure what the yield will be like on the strips he's run, and so rather than focus on the up and down sections, Jake's thinking that maybe what we do is just have a go here at the longish strips and just see that this unit holds 6,000 litres, so it'll be an interesting test. That we've got the horsepower needed to run the topper and the harvester at the same time, but also just exactly how much it'll take off and how it will work. So we unfold the harvester and put that down, and then oops, let's try that again, and put the topper down, turn you on, turn you on. Seems fairly happy with that. Traction, at least on this incline, is not seeming to be an issue. There we go. We're able to top. Question is, are we? Let's try backing up a little bit and lower the harvester. And there we go, we're getting sugar beets. That's pretty exciting. It's looking like, as expected, this strip was worth, well, was it 2 widths thereabouts? That's how we intended when we planted it. But in terms of overall volume and yields, we haven't been as diligent as we might have been on, certainly down the bottom section in terms of fertilizing and liming. So we'll just see how it goes. But if we think it's about $200, well, $250 1,000 litres, so 4,000 litres is $1,000, and we need 20,000 litres to cover the cost of the equipment. So that's really the first test. The second is that farming in these strips is actually workable, and so far on the mild upward incline we're having no trouble with the slope, so that's promising. Whilst we mightn't be able to pull the harvester back up this hill, we can certainly start again at the other end if we need to and come back down. So we will give it a go coming up, just to see what happens. This is trailed units remarkably well behaved on the tractor, so that's pleasing. We might get that out of there. Just cut the corner that way. There's still a few more trees to come out of here, of course. That rock is not an intended part of the harvest. And in fact, the strip that's in here was a bit of an error. We kind of lost our way when we were planting. We didn't mean to necessarily follow it into this area. So if we can't get all this crop, Jake's fairly relaxed. But so far, so good. Here we go. We might just continue on and pick up that strip down the bottom there. But it's a good sign for next year. We could comfortably continue, if we've got time to clear a little bit more of this, we can continue this idea and get quite a bit more sugar beet off here by the looks. Whilst it's not ideal, it seems more practical than running a crop harvester across here, that's for sure. Maybe even do a little bit of smoothing work to get some of the lumps off it. And you can certainly see the yield in this bottom section where we've done no attempt. If we have a look, expected yield 60%. So there really is a lot left on the table down at this end of the strip. In terms of where we were trying to get to and what we were trying to achieve, I reckon that's a pretty successful experiment. Good job, Jake. We haven't spent much time in this part of the farm, but pretty area. That's the old paper factory over there. Still got smoke coming out of the stack. It's running, but it seems pretty quiet. Just a little bit of a shame we have to keep this track that's running up the middle here. It's a gazetted access road, and unfortunately we can't plough that one up, so I guess it makes sense if there was ever a fire or something, you do want to be able to get equipment in here. So it's pulling it up the hill. Not as easy as doing the job on the way down, but just turn everything off for a second, lift it up, and just go and get that section back behind us that we missed when we get a chance to turn. Just make sure we stay clear of the rocks and the logs that are dotted around that we haven't really tidied up from our clearing operation. I've known that we're only going to get a whisker more in the hopper here anyway, so but in itself that's a good sign, because we can I think we can be pretty confident we're going to get more than 20,000 litres. So, given we've got that field down by the water, so I reckon let's put the unload pipe out here and turn everything else off for now. And let's go get the truck. Not conventional, but effective. So, and not your standard sugar beet harvest photo. So you're just quite struggling a little bit with the unload there, aren't you? Oh, they're falling in and out of the trigger. There we go. Fill up that end of the trailer. So I think in terms of a day's work, that might be where we leave it for today. Jake's pretty happy. He's got the corn in. He's got the first load off. The rain is due any minute, I think. Yeah, the rain's due any tick of the clock, so I don't think we want to be running around on the hillside with this heavy equipment in the rain trying to harvest. So I think the decision will be to leave it there and pick it up in the next game day. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. See you next time. Bye for now.